Hey everybody, and welcome to week 2 of class. I know that was a little dorky, apologize, but there you have it. This is week 2, and this week we're going to begin to dive into some content that's really going to serve as context to trying to understand the larger narrative that will unfold, that will in the end create what we now are studying as the United States. So last week we focused in on some of the earliest civilizations that existed within the Americas. And my purpose in covering that is to help us to understand that really there were people already present in the American hemisphere, both the southern and, for our purposes, the northern hemisphere. There was advanced civilizations. There were people groups there with diverse languages and religions and cultural practices. And this is significant because one of the historical traditions, going back, into the early 19th century, definitely the 20th century, and this narrative somewhat persists today, but it's the idea that what Europeans landed on was a frontier. In fact, you hear of the American West described as a frontier. And basically what that means is that there was nothing there. It was a land open for the taking. It was a place void of life, void of culture. And when we think about American history in terms of the frontier or settling, an untamed landscape, really what we're doing is we're erasing Native Americans from the narrative. And we don't want to do that because they were here long before Europeans were. Now, what they discovered, and if you want to use that word discovered, and again, that sort of suggests that no one had ever seen this land before, but what these Europeans discovered was new to them because they had never seen it before, but it definitely wasn't new, okay? What we're going to be looking at this week is that European discovery, right? The Dutch, the French, the Spanish, and for our purposes, the English, all came and settled in what became the United States. Now, what we need to understand is that what we're looking at this week is colonialism, but the specific type of colonialism that we're talking about is settler colonialism. And settler colonialism is a little bit different than other forms of colonialism because settler colonialism means that the people who came to what became the U.S., they came to stay, and they sort of viewed the land as already belonging to them. And this is where you get some of these narratives about the frontier and the untamed West, and it was by the rigor and the efforts and the energy of the settler who came and tamed that frontier. Those types of narratives really serve to justify the removal of Native Americans and the mistreatment of people as the United States grew. So when we're looking at colonialism this week, think of it in terms of settler colonialism. Now, we are not going to focus in on the French or the Spanish or the Dutch, although their narratives are really important because they intersect with the English in many ways. But because what became the United States was born out of the English experiment, we're going to be looking specifically at them. And really, we're going to be focusing in on 2 major colonies. There were 13 original colonies. Some of those colonies, like New York and New Jersey, the English gained possession of from the Dutch. Other areas we purchased from the Spanish and conquered. But we're going to be focusing on 2 that the English settled, and that would be Jamestown in the Chesapeake and Massachusetts Bay up in New England. And so we're going to be focusing in on those and some case studies. We'll be looking at indentured servitude versus slavery in the South, and we're going to be looking and focusing in on the Salem witch trials in the North, or at least in New England, as sort of a case study to see the way in which gender and religion and other types of patriarchal society all came together to sort of create this fantastic event that many people are really interested in. Okay, but lots of different things to be looking at this week. We've got the lecture, we've got some videos for you to look at, we've got some reading for you to do, so lots of things. As always, please get your content in by Thursday by 11:59 p.m. Make sure that you get your discussion boards in by that time, and then of course there's a subsequent response to another student that I'm asking you to do by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. One thing I want to make sure that you also do is anytime that I respond to your posts, whether I pose another question or if I ask you to elaborate on something, I really want for you to respond to me. Oftentimes because I'm posing you additional opportunities to gain extra points. Okay, so take advantage of those as often as you possibly can. All right. Okay, guys, that pretty much sums up what we're doing this week. If you have any questions or concerns or what have you, please contact me via email. I will get back to you. Otherwise, I will leave you, as I always will and have, with go in peace, be warm and filled, may the force be with you, live long and prosper, and may the odds forever be in your favor. Have a blessed week, guys.